Welcome back. This is going to be a bit of a long video, and we're going to try to take out as many people in Moonrise Towers as we can. So we'll start off by going back to camp and picking up our party. We're going to want to talk to Gale. And again, we can just open up our camp screen and right-click and select Talk, rather than trying to learn the layout of all the different camping arrangements.
What's on your mind?
And we'll ask him to join.
I'll be delighted. Though, someone else will need to watch the cook pot, of course.
And we've got lots of options. We're going to have him take Karlak's place.
Magical. So, shall we?
And we're also going to add Will to the party. We'll have him replace Asterion.
First in my heart.
In my years as the Blade, I've witnessed countless cruelties, faced unimaginable evil. But Thorn, he is made of pure hate. The Sword Coast will rejoice when the bastard's fallen. My father is somewhere in this tower. I won't leave him in Thorm's hands. And lest we forget, we've a devil to rescue. 2 missions, 1 destination.
Right. So we'll ask him to join.
I'm up for the challenge. You've just got to make a little space. Ready and willing.
And before we get too far out, let's take a look and see what equipment we want to move back. So Asterian's got quite a bit in the way of scrolls and things, so we'll send those to Alfira. He's got the Shapeshifter's Boon Ring. He's got our Guidance Amulet. Those will also be things we might want. Maybe not in this particular session, though. Karlak, we've got some basic stuff. It looks like we've got Lazelle's bound weapon here when we grab the hammer, so we'll send that to Lazelle just so that we don't forget. All right, and we're going to head to Moonrise. We'll take Shadowheart out of the party. She doesn't need to come with us for this particular mission. And Moonrise Towers. So there are a couple ways up the tower if we want to climb it.
Should mind my step.
One is to climb up this tree branch over here, drop down platforms and hop over. The other one is the one where we went inside. So we went inside to the left, took the ladder up, and then climbed up the tree roots on the inside through the bedroom with the mimic in it. So we'll climb up these tree branches, and there's not much you can do here. You might think that the window is breakable, but it's not. And we'll wait till Gale gets up. Cast Featherfall and jump over onto this platform. And for whatever reason, Gale's going to decide to jump back and forth. There we go. And we're going to come up to this same door, right? This goes to Balthazar's lab. This is Ketheric Thorm's room. And we're going to jump up on this platform. And here the guys are too weak to make the jump by themselves, so we'll break the party apart.
Defender of the people.
We'll select Will, and we're going to swap out his staff for the Club of Giant Strength. That'll allow him to make this jump. And we'll step out of the way.
Quite ready for you.
And we'll do the same thing with Gale. I'll unequip his staff, grab the Club of Giant Strength, and jump up. And we'll climb this ladder. I guess we'll have to get Alfira out of the way first.
So that's progress.
And this path of travel is a bit involved, right? So we're going to an out of the way location.
Where am I needed?
Alright,
Looking
now that
ahead.
everybody's up, link the party back together, and I think that the guys can make this jump.
Very well.
And we're going to head past where we threw all the bodies. So we're going to see them kind of explode as they get on the screen. So we're over here, and we're going to head just past that to this corner where we see that there are some broken down roots. And we'll climb down, and we find that this wall is a breakable wall. So we'll take a look inside of there, we'll take a shot at this wall, and we see it just breaks wide open, and we can see down into the landing, and Disciples Rel is over here, and this is where we're going to do our work from. So this particular strategy is super duper safe, but very, very long. This will be probably one of the longest videos that we do. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 fire elementals take out essentially everybody that we can get to come up here inside of Moonrise. So we're going to start a fight in the tower with essentially everyone. So we're going to have the floating eyes all doing their call reinforcements action over and over and over again. We're actually going to draw up all of the opponents in the tower to where we can shoot them in this hallway and the room across. We're not going to be participating in the combat, so we'll take Alfira and we'll take a look at our elemental scrolls. We've got a scroll conjure elemental. We will cast that, and we're going to select the fire elemental. We'll break apart the group and break apart our elemental, and we'll have Alfira step up out of the way. We certainly can bring our characters in. I recommend not doing that until at least Disciples Rel and the wizard are dead. Here we've got Will able to cast this because we took the ability as one of our invocations, so we're going to cast Conjure Elemental, Fire Elemental. And same story, we're going to have Will run out of the way. That's why we're not bothering right at the second to re-equip their staff. And in theory, they will not be in this combat. And he'll crouch.
You have my attention.
For Gale, we'll need to go in and select the spell for memorization. We'll just get rid of Fog Cloud, replace it with Conjure Elemental. And we'll conjure a Fire Elemental. And we're going to have Gale step out of the way as well. For Gale, we're going to do a little bit further away. So because Gale is I forgot to separate the elemental. Because Gale is a diviner, every time anyone makes a save or doesn't make a save, it's going to prompt him to change their dice roll with a reaction. In order to avoid seeing that all the time and having to respond to it, we're going to take Gale pretty far from the combat so that he's too far to manipulate the dice rolls. Alright, so we've got all of our 3 elementals down here. And we want to start a fight and get things going. So we're going to use the warp ability, and I'll just point out that from the edge here, the elemental's warp actually goes into the next room, so we can teleport really, really far down. So we'll bring our fire elemental down, and we're just going to go ahead and drop a fireball kind of in the middle of this room. So it has a regular touch attack that hits a couple of times, and it has this erupting cinder, which is an area of effect that does fire. So we're going to go and see if we can maybe hit all 3 of these folks, and we sort of just can right there, so that's what we're going to do. And that's going to start combat. And we're just going to go ahead and warp right up here, and that's going to get the other elementals in. And we could have shot again if we wanted to. This is going to be a super time-consuming fight, so I really wouldn't worry about that. We're going to step all of the elementals to the side. And it doesn't really matter too much which side. We may take the occasional incidental attack here, but by and large, the elementals won't be taking a lot of damage. So we're going to see the opponents sort of running around. This is a problem spot for us because we can't target it from right where we're at. But we will get to where we can target this. We just need to empty out the hallway first. And the most important part of the hallway to empty out is there is one paladin that's back here behind this door, and we really want to make sure that we take him out first because they do a lot of damage and actually can cause us to lose a fire elemental, and that's a hassle. So we'll blow up the door so that he's easily able to get in. He might even come investigate. And we'll step out of the way. We'll bring another fire elemental in. We see we've got, if we pivot over, we've got a couple of these necro mites that we can target, so we'll just drop a fireball right on their head. And if we don't have enough movement to get back, and oftentimes we won't, we can just use the elemental warp ability. That's why these things are so good at this. And if we needed a little extra room to maneuver, we could have cast Longstrider on the elementals before we left. Alfira knows that spell. And the extra movement can really come into play. So that's something that if you are not used to the strategy and you're trying it for the first time, go ahead and do that. And these guys are going to cluster under the stairs here, which again, we can't target from the room above. And what we need to do is teleport down here and shoot back up the hallway. We don't care if they cast Mirror Image. And you can see we're adding combatants because the thing is calling for reinforcements. So we'll bring our fire elemental in, and we've got a shot down here. We can hit one of the zealots, and we can start damaging Disciple's Rel again. Disciple's Rel is really dangerous in this encounter. She casts Black Hole, which is a power that will do a pull on your fire elementals towards the center of the effect, and afterwards slow them. So that combined with the Paladin's Abjure Evil is a real problem because it'll actually lock the fire elementals up. They won't be able to move or teleport. That's a recipe to get pig-piled and killed. And we'll just, do our casting and then step out of the way. And we'll get a bunch of folks that are just sort of moving around, trying to find a good place to stop us. Necromites are a problem. This magician is also a problem. Radijah, she tends to summon these clusters that will explode for some damage and leave a necromite. And a lot of the activity that we're going to do in this fight is just going to be clearing out space so that our longer term strategy of moving back and forth will work. And for a little while, we're just going to be taking pot shots at one or two folks. But ultimately, we're going to pull practically every single mob in this place into this fight. And that's what we want. So the easiest way to clear out the tower with little risk to our main characters is to trap people where they cannot attack us back. The paladins are very dangerous. They have really high burst damage, the zealots. And the casters tend to cast Hunger of Hadar, and they are protected from death, so the first time they die, they go back to 1 hit point, sort of like a zombie. These are pretty powerful opponents, and there's not like a convenient way to throw them to their death like we had in the prison or that we had on the docks or even off the top of the tower. So here in the tower, they're relatively protected from the easy mechanisms we might have to kill them. All right, so this is the first time we're finding ourselves with a clear hallway. And rather than step all the way in, we're actually going to click the Elemental Warp ability, and we're going to target across the way. So there's a minimum movement that we can to get over here. And from here, we do have a shot on the caster. So that's what we're going to take. And then we want to run over here so to the left side as we're coming in the door, rather than to the right. She'll have a target over in this area without having to move very far. We want to force her to dash, so we're going to run to outside of her sight range. The other two fire elementals, we don't want to do this with all of them. We only want to ever risk sort of one fire elemental over here on the other side where they can get closed on. We're just going to wait with these and see if we can get some of the zealots to chase us down the hallway. And so now that they've got a path to somebody, they're going to chase us. We'll see what she's going to do. She doesn't even move. That's great. Jrel, oh, black hole. That's a real problem. So she's going to pull our fire elemental in. Right, we didn't get quite far enough away. Fortunately, these things are incredibly fast. So even when we're slowed, we have the ability to teleport. So we're just going to warp out of range of the paladin, and we have the key to this door. We got it from the warden, so we'll just go ahead and head towards the door. And we've now got a shot on a whole bunch of people, so we'll roll forward and take a shot on all four of these. And anytime we take people out of the initiative order, the rounds get faster, which is great. We love that. And we're going to see a lot of confused AI behavior. So they're going to do stuff that doesn't make a ton of sense because they don't have a really effective thing to do. All right, so we got both of those. Very, very lucky round for us. And we're just keeping our fire elementals to the side of the opening at each round to limit targeting. That was interesting. Some sort of glitch where he ran through the floor. And so Zarel's chasing us. We've got another eye starting to pull the folks in, calling reinforcements. We want that. We want as many reinforcements that will come here as possible. We skipped fighting the dog, but we will need to kill the dog eventually. For now, we're just going to warp all the way through the room. And come out here on the side, and we'll dash to move forward. And we just crossed the whole tower, and we were where we started. Our fire elemental will come out. We've got a shot, it looks like, on Jrel and one of the other zealots. We'll take it. And she's going to be hard for us to do a lot of damage to at once. So if we take a look at her, we can see that she's running Fire Shield, which is going to limit how much damage we do for the next rounds while she's concentrating, but she's only got like 5 rounds left, it looks like. And we'll take another shot at her. Targeting can be a little tough through this opening, so just be careful what you're doing. And we're back out of the way. Now, our fire elemental is so far out of the way over here, but they're still going to chase us because it's the only one they can close on. Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough for them, so because the fire elemental has a ridiculous amount of mobility, we're actually going to completely get out of their way, so we're going to go into our overhead view, and we can actually see the platform that we jumped up to with our main crew. So we're going to click on Elemental Warp, and we're going to go up there. And we'll go back to the normal view, and we've come back to the place where we were headed with our folks from the outside. And the reason I mentioned that we need to kill Squire, which is Thorm's dog, is because everybody that we leave in the tower here, like Thorm's dog, is going to show up with Thorm when we battle Thorm on top of the tower. Right, so the Necromites and Wizard that we threw off at the top, and his dog will be there, and when things die on honor mode with Thorm, he tends to use reaction abilities to create more problems for us, so our end goal is to encounter him by himself on top of the tower. Reinforcing that he's a lonely person, I think. So again, we're just getting out of the way here and hoping that we add more and more combatants to this and that they're going to cluster up and allow us to warp in and out and do damage to them. This guy doesn't know where to go because now they're all out of sight. And they're still chasing it, but it's not easily path toable, so they can't figure out how to make it to them. And we're still adding folks to the combat. Here is our elemental. You can see we're sort of way over on the side. It doesn't have jump, so warp is the only ability it has to get around. And we're going to dash and come up to where we deposited Gale. We still got a couple of fire elementals where we can take shots at folks. Let's see if we have anything that we can shoot at. And we'll hit tilde just so they light up. We still got this guy here in the hallway. And I'm not sure why the symbol for elemental warp is a hand, but that's what it does. And the reason that we use fire elementals as opposed to any other elemental is the fireball that they throw. The air elemental has a couple of direct blasts. The earth elemental is more of a hand-to-hand combatant. The water elemental's got a cone, but what we really want is this area of effect lob. So we don't need to worry about targeting. We're just clicking a bunch of saves. The Zealots in particular here have really high armor class, and it would be hard for summons to hit them. And you can see the sort of interesting behavior where some of the provoked combatants will be moving around and doing things, and some of them are not, right? So the ogre there in the corner hasn't joined the combat. The caster that was at the bottom of the stairs, even though the whole stairs is coated with combatants that are in the fight, this one is not. It's the kind of oddity that we get with this strategy of bringing people in, and we can end up with a few of the combatants being bugged to the degree that they just won't get into the combat at all and won't get into any combat. So similar to what we were running into with the Torturer in the last video, or the video before the last video, where we just had to do a lot of damage all at once to get them to fall over because they otherwise wouldn't actually engage no matter how many times we attacked them. And that might be resolvable if we save the game and then reload. That oftentimes can help with buggy behavior. So it resets the game engine to a place where it is reevaluating what it's deciding to do when events happen. Because I think what happens is that character gets lost in its decision tree and for whatever reason can't reach the decision to start combat. You see that kicked off right there. He would have died, but they're protected from death. So the first time that they die, they just get 1 hit point. So the zealots and the adepts, they're really, really powerful. Okay, so now that we've got all the fire elementals back up on the ledge there, we're starting to pull the combatants that were chasing our rogue elemental that had run off. We're starting to pull them back. And that's great because it gives us more targets to shoot in at. And this, as I said, this strategy is super low risk. We're not going to take a ton of damage. We might get hit by stuff. The zealots in particular tend to throw caustic brine, so we might take a few points of damage. If we allow Zrel or the wizard or the necromites to get a shot on us, we'll take some damage from them. They do hit pretty hard. They have a really high attack value, so they will have no trouble hitting our fire elementals. So here we've got our rogue fire elemental. And we'll have him roll over here. And next round he'll come back into the combat. Our highest target, our highest priority target is Zrel and Radija. So while we have Zrel targetable, that's who we're going to shoot at. So she's coming into the room here, and that's who we're going to hit. And also, while she's about, we want to be very careful to be far away from this opening because we don't want to get black holed. Alright, so again, we're just going to toss this down. And she just keeps making that save for Fire Shield. And these guys will stack to the bottom. Sometimes we will be able to keep adding additional combatants. Other times, some of them will just refuse to aggro. I'm not exactly certain why that happens. Some I think are linked to others. And now she's not going to be targetable anymore without moving. But we're starting to get the group clustered back here, and again, that's what we want. The fireball's going to hit all of them when we attack the group. We're still pulling new combatants in. We still haven't gotten the ghouls on the far end outside the tower. We will eventually get them. And we just did. Okay, so a premonition there. We'll climb down these roots, which doesn't burn them. Again, don't know why. And we'll see what we've got in the way of targeting. And we'll just drop this. And we get rid of one of the combatants. And we'll warp over to the side. And we've still got at least one, I think, that we can shoot in the hallway. And so we're going to continue doing that until we have no targets. So we want to make sure that we're not taking retaliatory damage. And so that means we always clear out the hallway, if possible, to clear out the hallway. So getting excited and moving in too far or in too fast is a recipe for losing one of your elementals. Again, not into the world because our characters are not actually in the combat and can summon a new elemental and add it to the fight if we wanted to without actually entering it ourselves. But it's a waste of resources. All right, and we'll let this turn play out. And with any luck, we're going to see these folks kind of running in and clustering or stepping far towards the edge of the tower so that when we teleport, they're not going to be in closing distance. The ghouls are just going to run around. I've never seen them run far enough to actually get into the combat. They tend to scale the outside of the building. And when we end the combat, then they'll just exit out. The eyes are things that the scrying eyes are things that the fire elementals cannot damage, but Alfira is easily able to kill them with crossbows. So we'll probably jump down with Alfira to finish the fight rather than dismiss the summons, which is another way that we could deal with that. So if we wanted to end the combat, we could just choose the dismiss summon option and exit out of the combat. And again, that's just money if we wanted to, but it's a bit of a waste of resources. We have only wasted one of Gale's memorized spell slots and one of Will's and one scroll so far. If we wanted to, we could have had Shadowheart summon a fourth one, and then just go somewhere else in the act while leaving it here. That would have been fine. So as long as she doesn't go to camp, it would stick around on the main map here. It's not necessary, and just for good practice of our idea that you can't actually lose the game unless everybody dies, and if somebody's at camp, that can't happen. So we kept her at camp. All right, so we'll check the hallway and see we do still have a target. And if we're lucky, they don't save and they take a bunch of damage. If we're unlucky, they save and they take a little damage. But ultimately, they'll always take some damage, and eventually this strategy will win this whole fight. We probably won't take any actual damage to our characters at all. And the trick to surviving honor mode, the trick to getting through tactician, is to think about fights in terms of how many resources you want to commit. And we could spend a lot of money, drop a lot of bombs in any given combat to end it. Most of them are not worth the effort. So here we're spending a few hundred gold pieces on a scroll to win a fight. And if you are more conservative in the way that you'd like to spend your gold pieces, you could just use 2. So you could have used the 2 that we get sort of for free from Gale and Will. And that would be fine. If you wanted to do these out of order, so for instance, we're going to do the fight to protect Halsin and recruit him into the party. Halsin also can summon elementals by default. So it's a 5th level spell for druids as well. Right, so I don't know why she made that move. It's not very clear why the AI will do certain things. Like why this guy is running over here, don't know. He may decide to run back the other way. He may not. And this is the longest fight I think that we end up in. This is similar to where we sort of lit up the entire goblin camp. But if we were to have used the spectator here, it would have gotten completely destroyed. These hooks are all really high damage, especially the zealots, who have a couple of attacks and always smite, so they do a lot of damage all at once. And we're just pulling them all in, and we've probably got most, but not quite all, of the guards that are here. All right, so we've got a stack of folks now. And that's what we like. We like to be able to hit a whole bunch of targets. That makes this go by a lot faster. Ordinarily, we only get the opportunity to hit a bunch when we're crossing the hallway here. And they're trying to chase us. But I think when we have a lot of targets in the mix, that they run out of room to hide on the stairs and they come around just to provide a place to stack. And we'll do this again, highlighting all 4. Doing some good damage and backing away. As long as we're careful about staying far away, we will just not get anything. We're going to have Will not counterspell anything either. So if Will counterspells or if Gale were to reset a dice, they would enter into this combat and then just be another thing in the initiative order to worry about. And you can see that we didn't get the option to counterspell the black hole effect. That's just one of the illithid powers. In theory, we could have it ourself. I don't think at this point in the game. There's sort of a two-layer wheel for illithid powers, and I think we don't get the outer edge of the wheel until later. I don't want to spoil too much of the coming plot, although I will admit this run is a bit metagaming anyway. So if you haven't hit spoilers by now, I would be pretty surprised. All right, and this is just taking a bunch of time as it's trying to figure out what it's doing. And I'm getting tempted to move Will over to where Gale is, just to not get that prompt anymore. So we'll have him join. And bring him back over to the fight. There we go, we're not getting prompted when his heals are going off. All right, fantastic. Okay, come back around. Most of the time, we just are not going to be too worried. You can see that we did end up with an acid throw here. That's not going to cause us a lot of problems because we are made of fire. So we'll hit all those guys. We'll warp over here. And we're going to waste an attack to just drop fire at her feet. That's going to cause the brine to explode. We're not going to take any damage from that because we are made of fire. And coming back around to our other elemental. You see, if we had our main characters over here, they would be taking some damage from that. Okay, and we'll teleport away. And go through the computer's turn. And this is where all of the time for this fight is taking, is just watching the computer try to come up with things to do. And unfortunately, the layout and terrain of this fight are really not going to help it. Kind of proud of this one ghoul that's making its way in. Not sure I've ever seen one of them actually join the fight before. Although we usually get this zealot, so that'll be something we'll need to deal with cleaning up later. So there's a scene later where we're going to come back and try to storm Moonrise Tower. That's going to be our playthrough. We're going to, as good guys, do that. And we would have to fight any remaining guards that are in the tower. One of the easiest ways to win the fight is to just make sure that there are no remaining guards in the tower before we start. So that's what we're doing here. We're just clearing out everybody. Either way, we end up with a long mass combat. So if we were to try to storm the tower and all these guys are still here, we would be in a really long fight, only later and with more to lose. Now we'll bring our elemental over. We're hitting like 5 of them, I think, now, which is great. If we were to try to do this with Gale, he's a limited number of fireballs, and trying to do 2 or 3 around, and even at the lower damage that these do, this elemental spell is doing an absolutely ridiculous amount of work for us. And they're really committed to keeping this one guy up, and so good. That keeps them in the area where we can target. And Zarel, I think, has lost. Yeah, she's lost all of her buffs for the fight. So we've been fighting for so long. So we'll be able to do full damage once she's back in range. All right, so the fire up here has gone out. And now that it has, they might consider throwing another caustic bomb. We don't mind if they do. All right, so we got another one. Every time one of them drops, our AI round gets shorter. And all of our elementals are going in order again. All right, we got the bright pink outline that says they're getting hit. We'll shoot them both and teleport out. And we're getting close on these folks here, right? They're almost done. And you see that ghoul was running by another one of the paladins that hasn't been activated. The ogre there is still not activated. We might be able to get those activated as we start moving around on the second floor here. But these scrying eyes just keep screaming out, and we haven't had a new combatant at it in a little while. This strategy can be used a little bit in the prison as well. If we want, we can pick a scrying eye and get it into combat and convince folks to come down, and sometimes have some luck throwing them, but it's a bit too much play it by ear, and this strategy is one that we can guarantee works for everybody. So anybody can do this as long as they're patient. Again, we're not going to move anywhere until we've got the hallway entirely clear. Okay, so let's take a look and see who's in here. Nobody, but we've got this zealot over here. We might even be able to hit him. Let's take a look. So if we throw fire on the floor, yep, down here, we can actually hit this guy. And that's what we'll do. So he's too close to the door and would probably be able to get to us and engage with us. So rather than going through that, we'll just continue to shoot him until he falls down. Anytime I say that I have not seen something in one of these videos, it's bound to happen. So we're going to get one of the ghouls in the fight, and we're not going to get one of the zealots. That's pretty funny. And more screaming. And here we go. So we'll come back around. We're just going to do the same thing we did with the last elemental. We'll shoot down here at the ground. Make sure we get this paladin in the red circle. And do a little damage. Just double checking. There we go. Getting close. All right, and one last shot for this round. And you actually can hit this chandelier and it'll knock it down. You can drop it on someone's head. All right, so we've cleared out that guy. And next round, unless people move, we'll be able to have one of our fire elementals do a pull to pull the group forward. And we'll just kind of do the same thing. If we end up in a situation where it's easy enough to have the elemental that's pulling warp directly back onto the platform from the other doorway, we can do that. And that works fine as a strategy. It allows them to keep shooting. If not, we just run the length of the tower and then head back up and around. So losing a couple of rounds for one of the elementals to move is less of an issue than losing the elemental for the entire combat or forcing us to resummon. All right, so we'll take a look and see which one's closest. This one's probably good enough. We'll teleport into the doorway. We'll take a pot shot at this wizard. But we're not able to take care of her. And then we'll head over into the corner with the intention of making her dash to get to us. So we don't want to come over to this side where she might have line of sight. We want her to have to run to get to us. We don't have any other targets, so we'll just pass our turn. And we should see some of these folks move aggressively to follow. There we go. Sort of. That's the sort of confused behavior that I'm talking about. People will cluster in corners, they'll look at walls, jump around, and then jump back. Now, for this elemental to warp back up, it would leave it targetable, right? So we don't have enough movement left over to get out of the way. So we're not going to head back. We will blast this guy that's chasing us and warp. And then head in. And this dog's going to ignore us because it's scripted to try to talk to someone that comes in. And the elementals are not interactable. We've got an opportunity to shoot the disciple, so we're going to take advantage of that. And I don't think we can get a shot that's going to hit them both. Maybe we can. No, it's going to require moving, so we're not going to do that. So we'll take a shot at Drell. And once the folks that do heavy range damage like Zrel and Radija are off the map, this fight is a little faster and we can be a little riskier in our play. As while the paladins do a lot of damage, they don't have the ability to close. The elementals do way more in movement than a paladin can catch up with, even with they have a really high strength and a phenomenal jump distance. So this is definitely the longest video. We're already about 50 minutes in, and got probably another 10 or 15 before we'll be done. My apologies for the length of it. This is just an exercise in patience. So this is definitely grab some popcorn, get comfortable, and watch the proceedings. You'll learn a lot from watching the combatants decide what to do about how the game's combat AI works, right? So when you see people follow or jump around and move back and forth, you'll get an idea of how targeting is really working, right? So they're choosing a specific target to go after, and then they'll follow even to the point where they might miss attacks that they would otherwise get. So we're gonna dash and see how close we can get to the end here. Not far enough, but we'll warp so that we're ready for the warp up next time. And we're getting that error for crossing doorways. I've seen that come up on occasion. And there we go. All right, so let's take a look and see what we've got in the way of targets here. And we've still got the disciple as a target, so that's what we're going to do. And looks like we can move a little further in to get better on our aim. There we go. We'll warp out of the way. We got one more of those. And get out of the way. If you are able to think of a way to get rid of all of these combatants as quickly as our sort of Pied Piper and throw mechanism from the top of the tower or the prison, please post that in the comments. I'd love to see it. We could, in theory, do something like that here, where we were leading packs out to the drawbridge and trying to throw them off. Is possible to stack boxes and drag people up boxes and throw them. It's definitely something that we can do to get over like railings and such like that. But I think that the amount of prep and work and dragging each pack is even longer than this sort of massive combat. All right, so our elementals come outside, and it looks like we've got the dog added to the combat. So, you know, we might be able to finish that off if we wanted to. So we're going to warp. Again, in order to see as far up as we want, we're going to need to go to the overhead view. And we'll step out of the way. Now, a note of caution here. The paladins do have caustic acid bombs, which do little explosions when they're fired. So if we get someone out here and he throws it, the explosion might throw the fire elemental off and we could lose it. So we do have a reason to try to get out of the way. We don't want to just stand here and engage from this location. All right, now we're so far away that it can't do that. All right, so we'll go back to regular view, slide into our firing location, and so throw some fire. All right, and we've almost got Z'rell down. And oh, look at that, Squire's going to call for reinforcements as well. Maybe we'll get lucky and he'll be able to pull some additionals. All right, so that's Disciples Rel down. And our turn's over, and we're just going to wait. They're going to hang out here as well. And you see that that ghoul that's on the bottom floor is actually targeting the fire elemental that's been looping around, so he's running the other way to try to get closer. That's great. So we brought the wizard into a targetable area. And it looks like this zealot is headed back up. Sometimes repositioning is all we need to do. But you learn a lot about how the battle engine is trying to figure out who it's going to attack and why in a big fight like this where it has to make a lot of edge case decisions. So we can see our paladins come out there. He's going to have a hard time catching up with us. And we'll dash. And this is again why we might want to have cast Long Strider on the fire elementals just to give them a little bit more movement. If you're doing this fight, that's my recommendation. You should do that. But it is not required, and so I didn't do it. All right, now can we get lucky enough? No, probably not. 20 points of damage is quite a lot. So Radija does damage, but does not activate like a slow or something that would cause us a large amount of hassle. Zrel is really the biggest threat. Radija is likely to cause damage to the elementals. She also is prone, I think, to throwing fireballs ordinarily, but she won't be doing that to the fire elementals because she understands that that won't do damage. See that jump? That is a really, really large jump. And he's going to head back. Still trying to follow the same fire elemental, even though it's on a different floor. The upgraded fire elementals as a level 6 spell are actually capable of hiding, so they can crouch and go into stealth, which would make them ideal for this sort of thing, except of course that we don't have the ability to cast those. And because they're an upcast of an existing spell, we can't get scrolls of those, even if we can buy 6th level scrolls. So we're almost back with our sacrificial fire elemental with our lure. Alright, and let's see if we can maybe get rid of Radija this time. Alright, we're pulling Squire to the fight. She's got 6 hit points, so this is within the realm of possibility. There we go, on the nose. Alright, so this fight is much closer to being won. We can be a lot more aggressive about movement. While the paladins do a lot of damage, they will have a lot more trouble locking us down, as we're still going to have a high amount of mobility. And this ghoul is letting me down. He hasn't figured out how to use the stairs yet. I'll see if this guy... Are we going to come in? Nope, running back. And we're not going to want to do that thing where we're running through this room until we've cleared out the opponents that would be in here, just for safety and caution. Here we'll head down the routes and take another shot. So taking a look, we've only got one good target. And we'll kick off the Death Ward. Jump back to our spot. Get her out of the way. That sleeping that you're seeing coming off and on is there's a cat outside. And we can take a look and see if we want to try to encourage people to come in, so we could, leave someone in a slightly targetable spot. Now that we're not going to get stuck, that's less of a risk than it was before. We're going to give them a round to see if they'll come in here, though. Right on. So he's definitely found a hole in the world. I wonder if that's what the zombies and that zealot are trying to do too, is map through some location that's not actually traversable. All right, so we've got somebody that's run into view, and so they're our target. And long fights like this are one of the reasons that we show a preference in this playthrough for using explosives. Oftentimes we could do the same thing, stealth archery or throwing spells, and do that with enough leeway that we can't get hit, but it's really, really slow. So I tend to avoid that and choose a quick end instead. So, for instance, we did this recently in the Balthazar fight where we just used barrels to explode Balthazar. That fight is doable in a lot of ways, including just opening the door and letting Balthazar and his pack fight it out with the Sharans. And usually by the time that's over, there's only a couple of people standing. But and then it's easy for us to mop that up, but it is incredibly slow. So you might just be watching the computer fight itself for an hour and a half, and not very exciting. I wouldn't recommend it when compared to just stacking up some barrels and shooting. And we needn't have used barrels there. We just did it because that's what we had. We have like 100 and something smoke powder bombs, so we could have just used those. All right, so more shots in. We're including Squire now. Squire has an interesting interaction when you go into the room, into Ketheric's room, and he's there, where you can feign a military salute, and the dog will sort of let you be. Ultimately, it's undead and works for Ketheric Thorm, so it needs to die. over. Yeah, we can just run over here. Okay. And why it moved that one step? Oh my gosh, the ghoul's coming up. All right. Very excited to have a ghoul enter this fight. Never seen it happen before. And we're getting there. Almost. And Squire's not that fast, so we probably can chance moving. But we'll just take the last shot on him. Oh, never mind that. He's doing us a favor and getting out of the way. So we'll take our elemental and we're going to warp across to the doorway here. And we'll finally get a shot on the backpack here. So you see, we can shoot all the way across. And there we go. And we'll step out of the doorway just so that we don't get shot at. And see if we can't pull some folks forward. And that's pretty wild. I'm not sure what's going on there. This one guy seems to have picked up an ability to move through objects. I'm a little worried that that's going to require us to hunt him down. Alright, so we'll move in and start shooting the folks that are chasing our elemental. And it doesn't like to let us target bodies on the ground. And we'll move to the other side. And we'll actually move over to where we can maybe target both of them. There we go. And then we'll do a warp. We're in a much better position for playing cat and mouse with the zealots now. Alright, so we'll bring our first follower elemental in. Alright, we'll get rid of that guy. And we're no longer having that frightened status. Even if we were, it wouldn't have been a huge issue. Let's see if we can get a little further in to target this guy here. There we go. Still gotcha. And we'll shoot him. And we'll warp. But we're just going to warp back in here to the bedroom. All right, we're coming to the end of it, slowly but surely. It's taken a long time. All right. And we've got this guy over by the door. And we'll warp to the doorway and head out on the balcony. And I'll point out that the balcony that we're over is where the zealot and the ghouls are, so we might start pulling them and moving them around as well. All right, and we're at a new round. Taking a look in, we've got a target, so we'll take it. And we keep hitting the chandelier. Oh, this guy is dead. He's just still showing up in the initiative order. Alright, so our elemental is still being chased. Let's see if we got a shot in here. Not quite dead. And we're getting not enough space, which is interesting. Not enough movement. Let's see if we can teleport out here. It looks like we're running into one of these situations where it doesn't want you to cross a doorway boundary. Something that I've seen happen in the game a few times. We may actually get hit a couple times by this zealot. That's unfortunate. I should have looked at that more carefully. This guy's going to close on us. And we can see this guy's too far away. we're not going to be able to shoot him. And there's no one on the stairs. So if we want, we can just teleport down and see if we can draw anybody back up. I'll leave our other elemental, and our elemental that's threatened is also stuck in this non-teleport spot. So not a great spot for us to be in. We've got a guy with 13 hit points. So we're going to use our multi-attack and not be able to attack because we are just shy. So we're probably going to get hit a couple times. With 2 paladins, we may even get killed. You see how much damage these guys do. They're just wrecking it. And that's my fault for getting stuck in a doorway. It's also a bit of one of the game's odd glitches is that oftentimes doorway transition areas are like a no man's land. There's no way to get anywhere from there. So we'll take a shot, move in. And teleport up. And he may throw a caustic bomb or something at us. We'll move into a targetable range. And hit him. And move out. Alright, so here's our guy. Still got our paladin with 13 hit points. Yeah, so we're getting immobile. That's the issue. We're not able to move. Should have tried that last round. Interesting that it activated the lever. Let's go ahead and stay there. Yeah, there we go. So we're getting a couple ranged attacks, and he's going to run in. I still got this ghoul running around. All right, so let's see if we can get this fight near finished off. All right, so there was the last combatant that's sort of present. We've got this paladin way outside and a couple of ghouls and these floating eyes. So now's a good shot to move back to our main character and see if we can't take out the eyes. So we're not in combat. We're just going to cast Featherfall. And we'll crouch. And we'll head in here. And the reason we cast Featherfall is if we're going to drop down, we don't want to take damage from the jump. We do have some potions that would do it. We see we've got some ashes there. And let's see if we can get a shot on the eye. And we can. We're going to have to step in this fire to get there. Maybe. Got some ash. And path interrupted. We're running out of Featherfall. Let's see if we can just jump into the room. And we'll squeeze off a couple shots here. Let's go. Alright, done. Now if we get cornered by paladins or something, we can go invisible and just get out of here. So let's figure out which one of these guys is actually up this round. And if we wanted, we can try and go around the building and take out the zombies and the other guy as well. I can't tell if it's inside or outside at this point. It appears to be neither. It is legitimately in the door. We'll try and open the door and see if we are allowed to move again. There we go. Mobility is important, rendered useless if you're stuck in a door. And it looks like we just had somebody new added to the fight. And it was, the guard here down in the room.
Dull moment.
We're going to hide because no one can tell where we're at right now. And head in here. See if we can get an attack off on this other scrying eye. And that's almost got it, but not quite.
Breathe deep and move.
So we'll reposition. And we'll drop one of the fire elementals on the second floor. And we will maybe even head towards the ghouls and the other zealots, since it looks like we're going to be stuck in this combat. Our most difficult opponent today was that door. Oh, we're still getting new ads. That's great. And the more the merrier on this one. Assuming this guy can figure out how to work the stairs. Okay, we'll see if we can get a killing blow on the eye.
Have to keep going. Fall by my hand.
Alright, so that's good. We'll see if we can draw at least one of them up here. Sometimes we could maybe even get, oh yeah, we might be able to get a shot on him here. It doesn't look like we've got an angle to shoot down. But we do here, so we'll come over, see if we can shoot down into this area. Looks like that's a maybe. And we'll just warp back up. Ah, we got the other stair guard. That's great. Ghouls figured out how to run up the stairs. This fight's getting better and better. Yeah, see, there we go. He's going to throw some brine. Right, see it moved it when he threw, and evidently he's got the throw arc and we do not. You know, not fair, but that's the way it is. We'll crouch and move our Alfira toward safety, just in case anyone's going to come up and try and find us. We don't want them to actually attack our character. And we've got some guys on the stairs here. We're just going to move into the room and head towards the side of the door, just so they can't target us with ranged attacks. And here we'll throw a shot at this zealot. And we'll back up. The Caustic Brine's going to do damage every round. And the ghouls are not going to be able to get to us. And I don't remember if these guys have very many bottles of brine. And I'm not sure what those guys are doing, exhausting all of his movement in little hops. All right, new round. Alfira is going to head back out. Remember, she can make the jump up here and start moving around. All right, new targets. And here I thought that the fight was almost over. So we've got the blast, and we're going to head towards this door. We'll just kind of pull him through. And here, this is a little bit chancy. I'm not sure if this is going to blow up the ladder or not, but we'll try it. And it did not, which is great. So we're going to use that to go up and down and just sort of firebomb the ghoul and fighter guy until they're done. We still did not pull everybody in here. So the ogre has still not activated. There's another ogre on the first floor that hasn't activated. The vendors haven't pulled. So there are still targets inside of Moonrise that we'll need to deal with. We'll do that in another video. As soon as this fight gets over, that'll be it. So we are almost 90 minutes in. And your fight's going to vary from this one, right? It's not going to be the exact same pathing. And we'll head over. Here we'll slip out and throw another fireball maybe. And then warp. Same thing. And still has a lot of health, so we're going to reposition. And apparently get lost in a hole in the world. And be forced to end our turn. Not sure what's going on there. And we've got another scrying eye. So the computer's mulling its options. And we've added this last guy here. We'll see what he does. The waiting is the hardest part here. All right. This guy's still in range for Alfira, so we'll just take some shots. And a miss. Here we'll just reposition to try to drag the enemies closer. Okay. We just still don't have control of this character, and they're still not doing anything. Not sure what's going on there. We'll come down the ladder. Take care of him. This fight's going to be a little more complicated if we've got two folks staring. We might have to dismiss that elemental if it's truly stuck in the ground.
Brothers, sister, pray with me while we wait.
All right, come on. We want to end this video in under 2 hours if that's possible.
She gives them to you fully formed. You hear her?
Many hearts, one soul. With many thoughts, one mind.
Even the scrying eye doesn't know what to do. All right, so we'll crouch with Alfira, and I'm not sure if we've got a shot. We'll try and reposition for a shot on the ghoul. And the explosion looks like it might have freed our fire elemental. That's good. Alright, so here we go. We've got control of this character again. We'll shoot. Teleport and run. Here we're just going to try and finish off these ghouls. And we're not going to retreat, we'll just stay here and see if we can't draw somebody out. All right. Taking a look, let's see who we just added. It looks like it's the Pilgrims. We'll skip our turn with Alfira. Here we've got a ghoul that's attacking our fire elemental. The ghouls can do paralyze, but the elementals are immune to it. And we'll just take that ghoul out and head out. We'll shoot our shot here at Adept Mola. And same thing, we're just going to see how far we can get. Being careful not, I guess, to position ourselves at the door. There we go. And here we'll just shoot down at the ghouls. The Pilgrims are exceptionally weak opponents. We might maybe even get the Goblins if we're still adding folks to the fight. Again, your results might vary. I don't think I've ever pulled the Pilgrims in this fight before.
Just focus on the glory to come, yeah. Absalom's picking a fight with the whole damn coast.
Okay, we'll skip our turn. Got a new fire elemental that we can bring over. They're still not outdoors yet. We'll do a dash and bring them down onto the platform. We'll even warp over here to see if we can draw people out the front door. And we'll position over here. And see if we got a kill on this ghoul. All right, we do. We'll hope that this Paladin Zealot come out. She's going to follow. We've got no one near this resonance orb, so I'm not sure what will happen. It looks like the door is blocking Alfira's shot.
Blood comes easy these days.
Evidently that did not shut the door this time. And our fire elemental will come up the stairs and finish that one off. All right. And that's fantastic. He's coming out to where we can shoot him. These Pilgrims, I think, are too. We don't need our filler to go. We're going to continue shooting at the Paladin. If we've got a shot, we do not. We'll shoot the Pilgrims. Bring this guy back down the stairs. This is our fire elemental that went toe-to-toe with a Paladin. Or more appropriately, went toe-to-toe with a door and lost. And then we could maybe head back and see if she's got a shot. I think she did on the last one. She does. We'll go for it. Super lucky on that shot. And miss. And we should be so far back that he has no opportunity to throw that far. Take a couple of bow shots. He's going to reposition. We get the rest of the pilgrims coming out. I think we're finally coming to the end of this thing, maybe. Crouch. I'll throw a shot at this pilgrim. And at the zealot. And at this pilgrim, we'll see if the combat ends when this guy dies. Or if we have to hunt down this scrying eye, which we might. Okay. That looks bad. So we've got our scrying eye here. Gale is maybe capable of casting a shatter spell that'll kill it. So let's see what he's up to. Do we have a scroll of shatter? We have several. So Alfira could close the gap here, but I don't really want to wait that long. So we'll see if we can't just get in to do it. And
A path less traveled.
let's see, also, do we have Featherfall memorized? No. Do we know Featherfall? Yes, we do. Alright, so we will cast Featherfall just to jump in.
Yes, yes.
Crouch down. Come into the room.
Let's explore.
A lot of ash. And we'll keep an eye out to see if we see any guards on the way down. And I'm not seeing any. So a regular scroll of shatter may not actually kill this thing, right? So we could roll low damage. For the sake of being done with this particular video, I'm actually going to upcast it. In order to do that, we'll need to learn the spell. So we're going to... Oh, he already knows it. Fantastic. So we even have it in memory. So to make sure that we break it, we're going to cast up by a couple of levels. So we'll drop a level 4 shatter. Making sure we've got it highlighted. All right, now we're out of combat. Okay, so that's what we were looking for, and the fight for Moonrise is pretty much over. So that was an hour and 45 minutes or so. We've still got Lan and the other vendor, Roa. We've still got some goblins over here, and one true soul and some gnolls in this room, and we're going to leave Iraj to find her in Act 3. So that was pretty much everybody inside of Moonrise Towers. We've got another couple of ogres as well. So when we get in our next video, we'll pick up where we left off here and finish off clearing out Moonrise Towers. Hope to see you there. And again, sorry about the length of this video. It's a lot of combat. Thanks again for watching. Bye.